Man, you won't believe the craziness I stumbled into at the supermarket the other day. So, I'm at this massive store, right? It's the kind where you need a GPS to find your way out. I'm just doing my usual grocery run, grabbing snacks and essentials, trying to avoid those tempting ice cream aisles. After what feels like a marathon, I finally hit the checkout and I'm mentally high. Fiving myself for surviving the ordeal without buying half the store. Mission accomplished, or so I thought. I lugged my bags out, weaving through the aisles of parked cars in that sprawling parking lot. It's hot as hell, and I'm just thinking about getting home. That's when I spot this chaos near my car. There's this lady, let's call her Karen, giving this dude in the car the third degree. Now, this guy's sitting there, chill as a cucumber, but Karen's going off like it's the end of the world. I overhear her saying something about him faking a disability. Seriously, what kind of person is that? Anyway, I'm about to mind my own business, but then she starts this whole tirade about needing a good spot because she's got heavy stuff to load. I figure, why not be a good Samaritan? I tell her, hey, lady, you can take my spot. I'm heading out anyway. You'd think I just slapped her. She turns to me, all high and mighty, and goes, mind your damn business. Real charming, right? Back to the poor dude in the car. He's handicapped and he's explaining it to her as calmly as one can in such a ridiculous situation. Karen, of course, isn't having any of it. She's got entitlement written all over her, probably tattooed on her forehead too. I decide to play the hero again, tell her to chill, and insist she takes my parking spot. This time, she goes full Hulk mode. I say Karen like it's some magic word. That's when she loses it. She hears the magic word, Karen, and it's like someone flipped a switch. She goes ballistic, starts throwing punches at the poor guy who's just sitting in his car, probably wondering what cosmic forces led him to this particular parking spot. I don't know what possesses people to act like that, man. I start yelling at her, telling her she's crazy, and dial 911 faster than you can say Karen gone wild. Meanwhile, I'm trying to record this on my phone thinking this is gold for the internet. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the cops roll in, sirens blaring. They pry Karen away from her victim, who looks like he's been through a WWE match. I tell him to press charges, and he gives me a nod of appreciation. I promise to be there, front row, if he needs a witness. Update. All right, so here's the scoop on what went down after the Karen-ocalypse at the supermarket. After the cops hauled Karen away, the poor guy she attacked, let's call him Dave, was shaken up, but grateful for the cavalry that arrived just in time. I stuck around, offered him a bottle of water I had in the trunk, being the unsung hero with refreshments. We got chatting while waiting for the police report or whatever. Turns out, Dave is a regular at that store. He comes in every week, grabs his groceries, and minds his own business. Dude's a veteran too, served his country and all that. Now, I'm thinking, if anyone deserves a hassle-free parking spot, it's this guy. We exchange stories about the absurdity of life, bonding over the shared experience of dodging Karen's wrath. Dave tells me he's had run-ins with entitled folks before, but this takes the cake. I mean, who punches someone over a parking spot? Karen. That's who. Anyway, the police finish up with the formalities. They take my statement, check the footage on my phone, which I happily provide, feeling like a mini superhero with my evidence. Dave presses charges, and I assure him I'm ready to spill the tea in court if it comes to that. As we're standing there, swapping stories, a crowd starts to gather. You know how it goes, word spreads like wildfire in a suburban parking lot. Everyone's got their smartphones out, recording, probably hoping to be the next viral sensation. We become the impromptu stars of the day. This happened several years ago, back when I was part of a Christian cult church and in leadership. Also, I'm writing this on mobile, so sorry if it looks funky. Anyways, on to the story. Back when I was 22 and a young, impressionable young adult, I was part of the media team for this church. We were responsible for creating videos and flyers as well as posting on social media and taking pictures, etc. This was volunteer work, but the pastor, we'll call him Pastor Corruption, was an anal, cold-hearted dictator of the religious institution who would often give us last-minute projects that would keep us up all night in order to make a video to play during service the next day. We averaged 5 hours of sleep per night, but this was while I was in school, so during this time, in order to stay on top of my homework and other projects, I would average closer to 2, 3 hours per night, and to be honest, I'm not sure how I survived with only having occasional bouts of suicidal ideation and paranoia or delusions. Pastor Corruption loved money. He had a giant 6-bedroom house for himself and his wife, only complete with heated driveways and the latest model Cadillac, which sat atop of said driveway. The church building itself was overinflated, which sat close to 1,000 but maybe had a congregation of only 400 or so. More than Pastor Corruption loved money, he loved other people's money. 70% of the sermons were regarding how you needed to give the shirt off your back to the church or else you didn't love God and we're going to hell. Which is ironic considering that their accountant had been caught embezzling funds in the past. This went beyond tithes, which was 10% of what you make, and included pledges, fundraisers, given for church events, and going to retreats that made a profit from the attendees. Pastor Corruption and his pack of goons, aka associate pastors, who also shamed you for not giving money and being poor, would openly brag about how God blessed them after these rounds of extortion. Well, one day, it is near Pastor Corruption's birthday, and his pack of goons decided that the pastor's car from last year's model was too old and he needed a brand new car. They took a pledge from all the ministry departments to pay for said car. The minimum pledge you were allowed to make was $300, and the media team was no exception. Me, being a broke college kid with a minimum wage part-time job, decided that was impossible and I just wasn't going to pledge anything. This led to several hour-long lectures and shaming sessions about how I was seen as a leader. I wasn't seen at all since I was always working behind the scenes, and I needed to set an example. Finally, I got fed up and worn down to the point I confessed that I couldn't pledge because that would be taking all my rent money. I lived with some other leaders from the church at the time and shared a room with another girl. $300 doesn't seem like a lot now, but at the time, for not even having my own space or a place for my bed, this was highway robbery, especially for a broke college kid. A girl who lived with me, who also was lecturing me, told me just pledge the money anyway and I can pay rent later. Well, I was coerced into giving the $300 for Pastor Corruption's stupid car, and now he had 2 brand new Cadillacs sitting in his heated driveway. 3 days after rent was due, the girl who lectured me about pledging comes up and asks me for the rent money. The conversation basically goes like this: I don't have it yet. What do you mean you don't have it? I gave you 3 extra days to figure out something. What am I supposed to do? Pull it out of thin air? Maybe you should be more responsible with your spending. I've spent $2.16 on myself in the last 3 weeks, and it was to get a coffee so I don't crash my car while driving because of a lack of sleep. I'll give you until the end of this week, but you can't expect us to cover you any longer than that. You are being extremely selfish. Now, on top of worrying about juggling projects between school and church, I need to worry about not getting evicted. Then I come up with a plan. I'll just pawn my laptop. My laptop was brand new since it had just come out recently, and I decided to splurge and buy the latest model when my last 6-year-old laptop took a dump on me a few months before. I used it for schoolwork, but they had labs I could use on campus that would help me get by. However, the other thing I used it for was media projects for the church. You know how Pastor Corruption likes money? Well, he didn't like spending money. So the media team had a 13-year-old desktop that was overloaded with files, which severely slowed down its already laggy performance and caused it to take several hours to render videos if they didn't fail or corrupt. When I had gotten my laptop, it was fairly decent at rendering large video files in under 10 minutes and had amazing clarity and graphics. So they had convinced me to switch to using my laptop for all things media related rather than using the decade-old desktop. I didn't mind because it didn't interfere with my schoolwork that much, but all the templates for social media and other video and files were on my laptop now, meaning every week I was responsible for getting everything updated and handing off the final version of the file to the head of the media team. The girls I lived with would help me edit these files when we were home and were the leaders of the media team. This means that all the recent files of projects they needed were on my laptop and no backups were made on the church-owned desktop. I pawned my laptop, got the rent money, and paid the leader without saying anything about how I managed to get the money in a single day. Saturday night rolls around, which is usually when we worked on the video files we needed for the next day, and they asked me where my laptop is so we can get started. I don't have it. Where is it? I pawned it. What? I pawned it. Why? I needed to pay you rent. I had no other way to get you the money. I couldn't afford the pledge. but you graciously gave me an extra 3 days to pay it and make up for my rent I used to pay for the pledge. This is one of the most valuable items I own, so I figured it was the quickest way to repay you." At this point, they start freaking out. They want to go get the laptop out right then, but the pawn shop was closed. So they rush to the church and fire up the Dino desktop and desperately try to recreate the videos we needed from scratch. However, they have no backup since mine was being exclusively used. And the programs and versions that I was using versus what the Dino had was completely different. Think Adobe CC versus Final Cut Pro. In the end, we didn't have anything ready in time for service that Sunday morning, and the entire media team got yelled at by pastor corruption. I got double yelled at by the leaders on the media team, but it was worth it to see them panic. Several months later, I ended up leaving the church altogether and was nice enough to give them all the files of stuff I had on my laptop. My only regret is being so amicable when I left because F that place in F pastor corruption. However, last I heard, most of the people I knew there have left, and the church has downsized considerably and moved buildings. I assume they never got a new desktop for the media team after I left. This is one of the many outrageous aspects of this church, but it made me never want to deal with organized religion again, and now I'm mostly agnostic. Back in 1995, we had a tradition to let our dad carve the first pumpkin for Halloween as part of his birthday. We would take pictures and enjoy a celebration. My dad's birthday is October 29, and we ended on the 31st. My mom, myself, and sister spent 3 days celebrating him. When his pumpkin was smashed by two evil little monsters, EK1 and EK2, my sister and I did not take it lightly. We knew who these kids are because there were witnesses to the crime. So my sister and I had a plan, and we decided to make a new pumpkin that we put in the window, and we decorated the house with ghosts and haunted house sounds from my stereo. We went to a dollar store and bought the cheapest candy for the boys. We weren't going to give them the good stuff that we gave our friends and neighbors. On Halloween, we dressed up, did our trick or treating with our friends, came home to our dad's traditional food, an amazing meatball dish that is a family secret. We are wolfing these down as we see the two boys come up. You have to admit, these little craps were brave. EK1 rings the bell. I come to the door holding the bowl of meatballs in one hand and toss the cheap candy at them before they could say trick or treat. I smile as I take a bite of the meatball. EK2, that's it. Me. Yeah, we had to go get our dad a new birthday pumpkin. Sis, do you expect us to be made of cash? EK1, that's not fair. Everyone else got. Me. So, why do you deserve the same? EK2Q. EK1, we'll tell. We start to laugh and slam the door in their face. Around 10 p.m., our mother came our rooms and said we did something to two boys. We both come down to see this lady. She told my mother we denied her boys candy. My mom just rolled her eyes as we explained what we saw. The lady was a total EM, just decided to say we should have shared our food and candy instead of slamming the door in their face. She demanded we apologize. And this when my sister, who was glaring at the woman like she was a piece of trash, said, "No, we won't apologize until they apologize to our dad. They smashed his pumpkin and ruined his birthday. We don't care what punishment we get. Make them apologize." That EM just stared at her two boys who were behind her and asked if it was true. EK1 admitted that yes, they smashed the pumpkins. It was no big deal to them. A pumpkin is not a birthday gift. My sister and I still did not apologize, and we told our mom that until EK1 and EK2 apologize to our dad, we won't say a word. Our mom just told EM, "I can't make them apologize to your boys. What they did was wrong, and we will press charges if we see your sons near our house again." Yes, I remember this because it was the most important moment for us growing as we treasure our dad. I still do. My mom may be a nightmare to deal with, but my dad is important. My mom did say she was proud of us for not backing down and planning this out without her. She did say we should have included her in this, as she could have made the boys apologize. We never got an apology, and honestly, we didn't expect one. Though I do hope those boys choked on those chiclets candy because they deserve bad karma. So back in 1995, we deprived two brats of good candy and my dad's prefect cooking as revenge for ruining his birthday. We were told to apologize by some EMN, and we get off unpunished because we demanded they apologize first. I was asked to be the matron of honor for my friend's wedding. We have been friends since 7th grade. There are 3 bridesmaids total, and the other 2 also have the title of Maid of Honor. Ever since being asked to be the matron of honor, I have received at least 2 texts a week that are 3 5-paragraphs long of requirements for us to fulfill. These requirements have included letting her use one of our hotel rooms for her to get ready in because she doesn't want to get ready at her apartment or pay for a hotel room. Specific nail polish color style. Taking pictures of her during getting ready time because she's not paying for a photographer for that time. Of course, we are in charge of planning the bachelorette, which I was happy to plan. The demands for the bachelorette have been, don't wear pink because she hates that color. Stop her and take pictures of her all through the bachelorette weekend. Get an Airbnb that has enough beds for everyone, but it's okay if we're drunk enough to crash in the bathtub. Detailed description of what we are to wear for every single event, including color and dress code, formal, casual, etc. I don't even want to hear the words. It's too late. We're going hard and rallying all weekend. Thank you very much. I'm having a really hard time with this. I got married 2 years ago and she was a bridesmaid in my wedding. I just wanted my bridesmaids to show up. The only requirement I gave them was a dress color from a bridesmaid site. She did not come to my bachelorette or contribute financially at all. She lived out of state at the time and couldn't make it back. I was more than understanding and to this day am fine with her not being there. However, the double standard is exhausting. I'm already expecting to spend over $500. It's an out-of-state bachelorette. And now I'm having to buy a new wardrobe for the weekend. On top of all of this, my husband and I are trying for a baby. I don't want to tell her because we are keeping it hush, hush. If I end up pregnant, I would be breaking one of the rules by not drinking it. Am I in the wrong for backing out now? And now, for some comments, not in the wrong. I swear the entitlement and expectations of bridezillas gets wilder every year. Not in the wrong. Just tell her that you're unable to meet the requirements she has laid out, and if those are her expectations of you and your duties, that you'd rather attend her wedding as a guest. Not in the wrong. All these demands just for a bachelorette party are pretty ridiculous, especially if she's not paying for any of it. You have valid reasons to back out of it, so just let her know that something came up. Pick any reason, and that you regretfully have to bow out of being the maid of honor. Also, talk to your husband about it and see what he says. Run, Forrest. Run. You're not in the wrong. This is insane. Why would anyone have their loved ones jumping through hoops just for the privilege of attending a wedding? It's a great moment. Back out. Sorry, I don't think I can make it. This has turned out to be too much for me. I think it's better if I step out. I'll be happy to support you almost any other way, but right now this is getting out of hand.